Shalom and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is Meditation and Mindfulness with Rabbi Adam Kligfeld.
Good morning to those who are here at Temple Beth Am. Good morning to those who are driving through Texas on Zoom. Hello to anyone who might be watching on Facebook Live, and hello to anyone who is potentially listening to this on the Temple Beth Am podcast. Forgot to open up one more thing. 1 second. Okay. Parshat Pekudei. 1 second, come in. Hey, good. Welcome, Bobby. Parshat Pekudei can be every darshan's nightmare. It will always be one of my favorite parashot because I was assigned it as my senior sermon my last year of rabbinical school. So at least the way it was in JTS, I think it is that way now also, that you get a senior sermon and one Shabbat you claim as yours, and you give a sermon to your invited guests, and everybody wants like a juicy parsha. They want the binding of Isaac, or they want the Exodus. I got Pekudei, and I was thinking this is going to be like the capstone to all my learning at JTS. I have to find something transformational to say about the second half of the detailed instructions of building the Mishkan. But I was grateful for the challenge, and there's plenty of good stuff to deal with in the beginning part of the parsha, but it's the end of the parsha that I focused on. There's a wonderful paradox, or there are verses at the end of Parshat Pekudei which to me reflect a spiritual paradox. And of course, I have no idea if they were written that way for that reason, but I find it hard to read the verses without imagining I'm in the middle of the paradox. What's going on? The Mishkan is built. It took an enormous amount of time and resources for the Israelites to bring everything, and the reason that the Mishkan was going to be built was so that God would dwell amongst them. Build a temple that will dwell amongst them. And then the Torah says, I'm not going to quote chapter verse, but basically that as long as God was came down into the Mishkan, they stayed where they were. And when God emerged or lifted up from the Mishkan, then they could travel forward. Why is that a paradox? Because their goal was not to hang out in the desert. Their goal was to get to Canaan, to get where God told them to be. But they couldn't make any progress to that as long as God was with them. So they were paralyzed, stultified, when God actually descended to be with them. And then as soon as they got some space from the Holy One, all of a sudden they could make progress. And I have to wonder if we kind of try to reify this. When the Mishkan was steady and God was indwelling and they weren't walking towards Canaan, did they feel that they were just twiddling their thumbs and wasting time because they're no longer making progress on the actual goal? Or did they feel that you don't always have to be making progress? Sometimes, right? Don't just stand there. Don't just do nothing. Stand there. Don't just march towards Canaan. Maybe it's a part of the goal of the Jew is not only to, Kol asher ani holech leTzion, that every place I'm walking going to Zion. Maybe part of the obligation of the Jew is to say, for now, I'm not actually walking anywhere. I'm trying to have an experience with the Holy One. And I think that one of the hardest things for me to do in prayer, and it's easier for me to do it in meditation, is to say, there's nothing to do right now. I have no obligations. I don't have to march forward. I don't have to plan an agenda. I don't have to work towards a goal. It's actually the present being, using the word being as a verb, not a noun, that is the only thing I have to do right now. And I had a teacher when I was on my retreat in India, and I spoke about this a few times, who when we would be descending into meditation, she would say in her beautiful Goan accent, she would say, there is nothing to see, there's nothing to want, there's nothing to do. And she would keep saying that. And it was a reminder that in this moment that we're about to have, there's nothing to see, your eyes are closed. There's nothing to want. All of your needs are taken care of right now. There's nothing to do. There's no progress to be made. Just sit, because maybe God is dwelling in the Mishkan. And then when you open your eyes and you leave, then you can keep marching towards Canaan. It's hard to do both at the same time. So that's the piece of Torah that I thought would be a good lead into our meditation this morning. So with that in mind, close your eyes. Start breathing into your body, by which I mean you're already breathing. But breathe in a way that you feel like you're intentionally animating and oxygenating your body. And even if you don't shift your position, see if you can claim it in your mind as being very intentional. Every muscle that you're flexing, you're almost aware of, hyper aware of every engaged muscle. And very intentional about letting go every unnecessary muscle fiber. If your hands are on your legs, see if even your hands can go slack. Just laying a little more heavily on your legs. See if even your eyelids can get looser. Holding no tension, not clenching of the eyes, but just gently closed, so that the muscles around your eyes, on your forehead, in your jaw, are allowing a much needed release. If you ever find yourself holding tension in your core, in your belly, let it go. Let your body take the shape it wants to take, as long as you're doing the work of keeping yourself basically erect. There is nothing to see. There's nothing to want. There's nothing to do. You're an Israelite. You're in the desert. You're far from your destination. There are countless obligations in front of you. You see the pathway. The journey is long. It's hard not to think about it. But right now, you're in the Mishkan. And maybe the Shekhinah is there. And so for now, there's nothing to see. There's nothing to want. There's nothing to do. Breathe into the idea that this moment is everything, has everything, lacks nothing. And may even be a perfect receptacle for the presence of the Holy. And as much as it can be delightful to be in the Mishkan, there are journeys to be had and to be achieved, and so we emerge. On some level, we bid farewell to the indwelling, to the Shekhinah, and come back to the surface so that we can continue our march towards Eretz Canaan. And we'll say this closing prayer together 3 times. I'll put it on the screen. May we and all beings have happiness in the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering in the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with compassion for all. May we and all beings have happiness in the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering in the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with compassion for all. May we and all beings have happiness in the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering in the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with compassion for all. I say to you all, Shalom, and Shabbat Shalom, and Namaste, and may your journeys be productive, and hopefully may you find a place to stop soon and hang out with the Shekhinah.
You have been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast site or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Temple Beth Am Los Angeles, go to tbala.org.